Hello there. It's Aidan Phelan from A Guide to Australian Bushranging, and this is kind of a weird one to be doing. I purchased a product that I wanted to show off because it's kind of related. Now, I'll show you one of the things before we get too deep into it so that you've at least got something to look at. Here we go. Right, where is he? Yeah. Alright, so you're like, what is that? If you're into tabletop miniatures, you will know that there's a very popular trend to get miniatures made of your favourite characters and things, and there are a few websites that actually have a service that you can design and have your character's miniature actually printed up for you in 3D. And this is one of the ones that I've just had arrive from the United States. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find somewhere near at home, but the company that I went with for these ones is called Hero Forge, and they come pretty highly recommended, and so these just arrived this afternoon. Been sitting in the mail system for months and months and months, but they finally arrived. So this is an example of one of the miniatures. Now, you can get them in a whole bunch of different formats. This one is grey unprimed format, and the reason that they do it that way is because you get a bit more detail in it. There's a lot of detail in this one, as you can see, and the reason it's primed is because you get to paint them yourself. Now, I'll give you an example of something that I painted that was with a different company that wasn't something that I designed. This was just one that I purchased. So here's a miniature in the same scale, same format, by a company called Reaper Miniatures. Don't know if yeah, there we go. So that gives you an idea of what you can do with the painting. Just sort of brings the character to life a bit more. So that one that I just showed you was in plastic, and we've got this one. Sometimes they come in metal. So this one was metal, and it's been primed and painted and everything. So as you can see, they're lots of finicky little bits, and with these Hero Forge miniatures, the details are slightly larger, such as the weapons and stuff, just because when you're printing out a miniature on this scale, details that are very small can be easily broken or lost because they don't translate well to being shrunk down. Anyway, so the ones that I've had arrive, I'm not actually planning on using them for a tabletop game. I actually want to use them for diorama building, which is something that you can do very easily on this scale. So this one here is Michael Howe, and the idea I had was I was going to do all of the main members of Michael Howe's gang. So this is Michael Howe, sort of early part of his bushranging career with his pistol and a cutlass. And so with the Hero Forge miniatures, you actually have quite a range of materials and weapons and costumes and stuff that you can use on your characters. So this is another Michael Howe that I made that depicts him sort of later in life, and you can see the big beard, and he's got his pistol, and in his hand it just sort of looks like he's got a brick in his hand at the moment, but that's actually a journal, because anyone who knows much about Michael Howe knows that he was very famous for carrying around a journal bound in kangaroo skin that he wrote about all of his dreams and things in. So that's what this is depicting, and he's got sort of the ragged clothes. This is meant to be his kangaroo skin cloak. Naturally, they don't have anything that's that specific in the range of costume pieces, but this is a pretty good approximation, and once it's painted up, you'll be able to see it much better in that way. Anyway, so they're the two Michael Howes. To give you an idea of the variations you can get, even with just the one character. But I decided to do other members of his gang. So we got James Whitehead. Now, this one I was quite excited about because the cap that he's wearing was one that he notably had stolen during one of their raids, and he was wearing it the time that he was shot. Now, little details like that make these figurines a little bit better, I think, and I look forward to painting him up. So that's James Whitehead. Here we've got Mary Cockerell, the member of the gang that was colloquially known as Black Mary, which, you know, typical colonial Australian lack of political correctness. But she's got a musket and is wearing a cloak as well. So that one turned out quite well. Lots of little details on the clothing. What else we got here? So we've got Richard Collier. He was a younger member of the band, and so I've got him with his musket on his back there. Now, the other thing that's really good about the customizable features of these on the website is that you can scale them to be a relative height to each other. So if you put Richard Collier next to James Whitehead, or next to Michael Howe, you can see that they're slightly different heights. It's a bit harder to tell because he's got the big hat on, but it comes in really handy for tabletop gaming because, of course, the whole idea of these miniatures is to give you an idea of scale and space. So we've got here George Jones, or Bumpy Jones as he was also known, wearing kangaroo cloak, and he's got his pistol there. So, I mean, obviously there are some limitations with the design process because I can't really modify the facial features that much. Mainly because in order to make the facial features really defined, it's going to cause a lot of problems with the printing process because these are all 3D printed. And if you look extremely closely, in some parts you can see there's sort of layering where it's been basically built up in the printer. I think there was some examples of that on here that you could see in the light there. But it's very, very slight with these ones. So you shouldn't have any issues with painting these and not having to deal with layer lines. We've got Peter Sempton, who was also known as Fat Jack. You can sort of see here the sort of lines where this was sort of printed out, and yeah, little things like this little wedge at the bottom of his foot there is because his foot is on an incline, and if they didn't put that there, it would be very difficult to print that off without snapping it, because these are just plastic. So that one, and the last one that I've got is James Geary. You can see he's got his hatchet, he's got his pistol, and he's got his kangaroo cap and cloak. So I'm very happy with these, actually. I mean, are they worth the money you pay for them? Well, let me put it this way. If you happen to have enough money to be able to get these, and you're happy to spend a considerable amount on hobby stuff, absolutely 100%. Everything that I've seen, including these, really shows that there's a great deal of quality to the product. All the reviews that I've seen of other people of the various products that Hero Forge put out are very positive as well. So I would say that these are definitely worth, well, they're maybe not, in my opinion, worth the full money that you pay, only because when you factor in shipping and stuff from the United States, it gets really steep. These are probably the best option, I would say, out of all the different options in terms of price. Or if you have a 3D printer yourself, you can just design your characters and buy the schematics to put into your 3D printing software and print them out at your own leisure. And the benefit of that, of course, too, is that you can print them at whatever scale you want them to be. So I would do that if I had a 3D printer, but I don't. So this is the next best thing. You can also get them 3D printed in color, which is a lot more expensive, but they look good from what I've seen of the 3D color printed ones. So I've got some of those that I'll be looking at soon. In the meantime, these are pretty cool. I look forward to painting them up and putting them into some scenery and stuff. So I even have little bits and pieces that I bought from other places to add as scenery. So you got a little flower sack here. Doesn't really look like much. I don't know if you can see that there. Little barrel. So it's pretty easy to find accessories for these sort of things if you're looking, and there's always tips and tricks for being able to make some yourself. So when I start working on the diorama stuff, I'll be sure to share some of that with you guys so you can have a look at it. I'm sure that some of you will find it interesting, but in the meantime, I'll let you go. Thank you very much.